Serious, parents of unattractive children, when did you realize your child was ugly? How did you feel about it? I've kind of always known, I guess. My son had a very odd shaped head due to birth complications, and he never really grew into it. I guess the moment that made me realize it was when he started balding at 16. I felt kind of bad for the kid, but tried to give him tips on how to make what he had work. Balding at 16 has gotta be rough. At least I managed to get through high school before that crap hit me. Well, I didn't notice so much when he was a child, but as he grew older his nose got really big and I could overall see how ugly he was. I didn't feel bad or anything. He is great at sports and stands out on soccer. He has his group of friends, so he has really never had a social problem or inferiority feeling. He has told us that he has been bullied at school, but he handled it really well. He ignores anyone who bullies him, or doesn't respond when someone calls him by a nickname. When someone tries to be aggressive, he just tells an authority about it. He has handled it really well. He'll probably do great. Athletic guys who are that confident have no trouble getting their fair share. 6 years old son has always been the splitting image of me, and I am not a physically attractive man. He's already very bright though, so I know he'll find ways to work around that problem, like I did. I think my son is a good looking boy now. He certainly gets a lot of compliments, but my god, he was an ugly baby. He sort of looked like a cross between a monkey and a frog. No lie, he had a hairy forehead till he was about 6 months old. Then bam, suddenly he became cute. The older he has got, the better looking he has become. Even when he looked like a monkey frog, I loved the heck out of him and thought he was the cutest thing ever. I really want to see a picture of your little monkey frog baby, without seeming like a creep. My son isn't great looking, but is fantastic fun, and I'm so proud of him. His girlfriends freely admit he laughs them into bed. Being funny lasts, looks don't. Sounds like he's doing great. I think 95% of newborns are ugly. I naturally thought my daughter was the most beautiful creature on the planet. Thank God we had a cute one. 6 months later, looking back on newborn pictures, I was horrified that I posted some of them on social media. I still cringe when I see them 3 years later. What an odd creature. Looked like a tiny grumpy Churchill, which was, in fact, her nickname until she was about 9 months old. She's 3 now and insanely adorable. I know this because everyone who was honest about what an ugly baby she was agrees with me now. Yeah, I had the same mother's love blindness. I am about to pop out kid number 2. I am sure they will be an ugly grandpa raisin for a month too, but I won't notice. When my first daughter was born, she was the single most beautiful child that had ever blessed the planet. After my second was born, my husband and I pulled out newborn photos of the first to look for similarities. There are none, and we were shocked at how weird she looked. Now she's the most beautiful toddler that has ever blessed the planet. So I guess we're due for another rude awakening in about 2 years lol. From a slightly different perspective, I am nowhere near as attractive as my older sister. We are so dissimilar looking, and she's so objectively prettier than I am. People used to ask me if I was adopted all the time. And by all the time, I mean literally every time someone found out we were sisters, I would be asked that question. My mom always swore we were both beautiful, but when her nickname for my sister was X the Beauty Queen and mine was X the Butterbean, I kinda figured it out on my own. I laughed out loud at Beauty Queen Butterbean. Go to steal that. My son was absolutely adorable until he hit puberty. Puberty made him gangly and scrawny, which, coupled with his wavy red hair and poor eyesight, made for a rather geeky looking kid. Now he's almost 17 and has grown into his body more, has acquired a better sense of style and personality, and is shaping into a handsome young man. He's come full circle. When my second daughter was born, my mom looked at her and said, "Now there is a face only a mother could love." I was heartbroken because I thought she was beautiful. My first son was born with hairy ears and a weird looking bridge of his nose. One of my first thoughts about him was, that nose better straighten out. His ears stopped being fuzzy when he was a month or so old, but the bridge of his nose is just off still. Somehow he is 5 and gorgeous. My youngest son, God forgive me, was not overly cute. He was angry as heck, jaundiced and had splotchy skin, and we barely saw his eyes for nearly a month. He got uglier, tiny eyes, far too close together, somehow even more not jaundiced, but red and splotchy, with an incredible talent for arranging his features in the least flattering possible way. Suddenly, at 6 months, he metamorphosed into a gorgeous, big-eyed baby. Still but at least cute. I'm super paranoid that they'll both turn unfortunate looking again. It was very challenging having loving feelings for a screaming ball of rage that was so disappointing looking. My friend has one beautiful child and one ugly child, and she told me at birth she thought her kid looked like Benjamin Button and she kept waiting for him to grow out of it. He never did. She's always known. I know a very attractive couple who have 2 children, both in their late 20s now, who are some of the ugliest I've ever seen in my life. How the frick does that happen? Sometimes really attractive people are attractive because certain features are exaggerated or put together in a novel way. Stick 2 of them together and you might get something amazing, but also you might get a collection of weird features that don't sit right together. My son is 3 months, definitely not ugly. He's amazing cute actually, but he's starting to lose his newborn hair from the top of his head first, and the new hair underneath is blonde, so he looks like he's going bald. It's really weird when I'm feeding him in the semi-darkness cause it looks like a little bald dwarf is sticking on my tit. Mayo, this is hilarious. Hope it works out for him. A woman I know had a baby about 10 months ago. The poor child looks like an egg. She has a big bald oval head and little features. I am sure she'll grow into herself eventually. Child looks like an egg. Mayo, the descriptions in this thread are so great. There was a girl I went to grade school with and she was not ugly but not memorable. She was teased a bit, being called a boy and stuff. Well, she got the last laugh because she grew up and became a stunningly attractive woman. Best part is she is smart and always had self-confidence. I saw her and totally did not recognize her at first, but we caught up and chatted when we ran into each other. I know this doesn't fit, but my daughter is beautiful, has been since day one. She is 10, but tall and thin, looks much older than her age, but my god is she dumb. Some things are worse than being ugly. My daughter was not a cute baby, she just wasn't. I love her so much, and I loved her despite her being less than attractive as an infant. I didn't feel disappointed or embarrassed or anything. It was just a fact. She's 7 now and she is getting really pretty. She just had to grow into it. Her dad and I are both tall and I think she'll be close to 6 feet based on her growth charts. She could model if puberty doesn't screw her over. Models are usually interesting looking, not pretty. She could still model, but modeling sucks. Aim higher than that, homie. My child isn't ugly, but I'll always remember the relief of finding out he wasn't. To start with, he was 2 weeks overdue and my wife had to be induced. After 20 hours of labor, the consultant said his heart rate was fluctuating and we'd need an emergency C-section. After the procedure, a nurse called me in and told me not to look at the floor, just my wife. I looked at my wife's face, surrounded by blue blankets, then the floor. It looked like the finale of Jaws. When I finally saw my son for the first time, I cried like never before. Some of the nurses watched me as I picked him up and told him through the tears, "I'm so glad you're not ugly." One of the nurses gasped and said she'd never heard a new father say that to a newborn. Maybe not, but they've all thought it. The worst is people showing you photos of their ugly offspring and having to lie and say that the mutant in the photo is so cute. Or better yet, just say he looks just like you and see their eye twitch as they realize what that means. When the nurses showed me my newborn after a C-section, and still on some pain meds obviously, I said hesitantly, "Are you sure that's my baby?" He looked like a little rat with jet black hair and dark almost black eyes. I just couldn't believe it. He has since grown into his looks and his eye color and hair color have changed. He's very cute now. My mom didn't believe I was her kid when I was handed to her for the first time. Not because I was an ugly baby, I just wasn't covered in a thick coat of dark hair like all my older sisters were. My mom refers to me as her only human baby. My sisters were all monkey babies. Okay, my daughter was not a cute baby. I'm a mom here, but also pretty objective about my kids. Realistic about what they are and what they aren't, though I will love them no matter what. In fairness, I don't think most newborns are very cute, especially white babies. They seem all red and squished for a long time. She was really cute from like 6 months to 5-6 years. After that she went through a real homely streak. Chubby, kind of androgynous face. Her always cutting the frick out of her beautiful hair didn't help things. Then she became really beautiful at like 14-15. That was her downfall. She started living in the beautiful bubble where everyone gave her everything she wanted for free, including alcohol and drugs, and it led to a very serious drug problem that nearly ended her life. If she would have stayed unattractive, she probably wouldn't have developed the serious problem that she did. She is 23 and still just wants to party. Hasn't held a job in several years. She is still beautiful, a beautiful disappointment. It's weird because her little brother looks exactly like her, though his homely period was just a few bad haircuts when he was in a gawky stage. He looks like a model and acts like an angel. He has been a gift. I have been trying to save my daughter's life with her addiction for years. I have went without things for myself and sacrificed for her problem even after she was well into adulthood. She doesn't appreciate it a bit that I was paying for her to live, right down to buying her tampons, and she would always call me a fat ugly bee. Well, I wasn't always a fat ugly bee. After months of her abuse, after she had literally punched me in the face when I was driving 70 miles per hour down a highway calling me a fat ugly bee. Heaven help me, but I told her, so what, I am a fat ugly bee now? I was a much cuter child than you were, so there. Shut her up for a minute. Though less than a few weeks later, she called me a fat ugly bee again, so I guess it didn't do any good. Drug and alcohol therapist here. Please stop enabling your daughter and get yourself some help. Naranan and Alanan are both wonderful, free support groups for family members of addicts, alcoholics. A lot of things that sound like common sense are, unfortunately, a hindrance rather than help when it comes to recovery. Please feel free to PM me if you need any help, someone to talk to. My one grandniece was born with a large weird head. It isn't related to any problems. It's just big and lumpy. The first time my mother and I saw her was at a family gathering with my sister, the grandma, in attendance. Mom, sis and I ended up together alone in a room, and we all looked at each other guiltily waiting to see who would say it. I think it was my sister. We all giggled and then told each other, she'll probably grow out of it. She hasn't. She actually has a pretty face and is a smart, sweet, athletic girl. But the head, of course she has thin, light color hair so you can easily see it, too. Twins. The boy was freaking adorable since the day one. The girl, not so much. She didn't really grow hair until age 3. Now at age 6 the tides are turning. The boy is taking after me. I was also good looking kid, but it didn't last. Also pretty annoying personality. The girl is looking pretty average now, but she has great personality and everyone loves her. I secretly thought my older daughter was an ugly baby for the first year and a half or so of her life. I was a bit disappointed and occasionally wondered if people who said she was cute were lying to me to make me feel better. She ended up growing into an adorable toddler, and then I thought she was a bit ugly again when she reached 4-5 and her hair was very long, nearly to her butt. It made her face look kind of fat. Despite that, she has always been very thin, and the long hair I guess was weighing too much and looking drab. She decided to cut her hair to chin length, and after that she was extremely pretty. It was really amazing what a difference the new haircut made. The difference in the before and after pictures of her haircut is pretty amazing. I did not think my son was cute when he was born. I had bad postpartum depression and cried often because of it. I cried anytime someone told me he was cute because I thought they were lying. He grew into a very cute toddler and is now an awkward looking 7-year-old who is attractive when his hair is cut a very specific way and is otherwise awkward looking. Lol, I also have a 7-year-old in the same situation. His big ears, round head and double cowlicks, think alfalfa, require a tight on the sides, specific length on top. With that, and his thick plastic glasses, he is handsome, albeit gangly. My youngest, though, amazingly adorable, like a friggin' angel child. They look unrelated. I really believe that most parents will never know if their child is ugly. I think every parent truly believes their kiddos are the most beautiful things in the world. As a mother of 4, I sometimes wonder if my children are ugly, and I just don't see it. Cause I've known people with some pretty ugly kids that are always posting pics with comments like your daily dose of cuteness or isn't she lovely now that my kids are older, and I know they're gorgeous. Lol. I have found myself looking back at some not so attractive baby moments, but I never thought so till looking at them years later. Parents in denial. When will you realize your child is ugly? How will you feel about it? This thread has made me so scared to have kids. My sister was an extremely ugly baby, and my parents knew it. She didn't have a single piece of hair on her head until well past the age of 2, massive ears, and a nose like a beak. My mother was so ashamed, she never took her hat off. She's 18 now and still has a pretty terrible nose, but has learned to combat it with a conchoid palate. So, not a parent, but I was a hideously unattractive child. I was born without a chin. Apparently I sucked my thumb so much in the womb that I wore it away completely. My dad claims, and my usually less silly mother confirms, that when I came out his first words were holy crap, is he always going to look like that? I have a chin now, but I still look like Beaker until the age of about 4. My nephew was a preemie twin, so was born very small. He also had jaundice, so when I first saw him all I saw was a little rat looking thing with splotchy skin. He also managed to inherit his dad's fairly large nose, like half of this 3.5 pounds kid was all nose. Think Mandrake from Harry Potter. He did get chubbier and grew into the nose, so it all worked out and is a pretty cute kid now. Not my kid, but was there at the moment another mother figured it out, and it was hella embarrassing. I was at my GF's parents' house having dinner when her mom's wine circle came over for their nightly patio drinking on the back porch. At some point after dinner my GF and I go out to have a glass with them and chill. Now my GF had a younger sister who was in high school, and all of the mothers there had daughters of similar age. Anyways, one of the mothers very straight-facedly asks my GF if she had heard of a butterface, and what it meant. My GF starts laughing and cracking up and goes into a long winding joke about what a butterface is and means, laughing the whole time. At the end of her explanation the whole group of mothers are sitting there quiet and absolutely mortified at my GF's telling. After a very confused minute the mother who asked about it simply said that she had just found out that day that that was her daughter's new nickname at school. Ouch. I was a cute child but puberty was not kind to me, and from 12-18 I was fat. Not ugly but definitely not good looking. My mom would often say to me my daughter's a good person and even people uglier than you have boyfriends so I don't think you shalls have a problem. Luckily I've seen lost weight, got braces, skin cleared etc but I'm glad she always emphasized on inner beauty lol. I was an adorable baby and cute toddler. Once I hit 5 years old, everything went downhill for several years until I turned 12 and puberty kicked in. I was incredibly skinny and dorky looking with huge glasses, unruly hair and really crooked teeth. Puberty helped me fill out, contacts and braces came into play and so did hair gel. As I got older, I got better looking. Lord only knows how I'll look in another decade or so but I'm glad my 7-year awkward phase ended when it did. Listen honey, we knew when you were 2. It just got worse from there. We are thrilled you grew up and could post on Reddit, but let's face it, you aren't going to be in an Abercrombie ad anytime soon. Stay strong. My best friend growing up was one of these unfortunate, in our society, souls. She was short, about 5'1", and very obese for a kid. In grade 5 she was probably pushing 200 pounds and wore a 42-inch waist men's jeans. She had a jutting brow ridge, a blade-like nose, and horrible teeth. She was so buck-toothed, they met in an almost right angle in the center of her mouth, kind of like a cow catcher on the front of trains. In order to fix her teeth, they would have had to break her jaw in a bunch of places. She couldn't chew with her mouth closed, so it was awful listening to her eat, especially chips. She hated her teeth so much she never cared for them and they basically rotted out of her mouth. She had very fine, very curly hair that was so thin you could see her scalp, and even though she was a bigger girl, she had small, pointy boobs. Everyone called her Roseanne, but Roseanne was prettier. It was terrible. Her parents spoiled her and bought her whatever she wanted, maybe in part because they felt guilty, because her teeth were so bad. About 3-4 years ago she had to have them all taken out and got dentures. They totally changed the shape of her face. When you have bad teeth, it seems counterintuitive, but it hurts less to eat soft sugary stuff than it does to eat healthy food. She lost a ton of weight because it no longer hurt to eat healthy and she was no longer afraid to smile. She looks like a completely different person now. Of course, she was always beautiful on the inside, but now she feels that way, too. It's kind of a crappy moral to this story. She was ugly her whole life, but now she's beautiful, but she's happy and that's all that matters. She has 2 great kids, work she loves, tons of family and friends who adore her, and these were all things she had before she became pretty. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.